Chapter 24, How to Enhance the Acceptance of Your Manuscript. Balan Vatu Vishnu Bhat Sambandam Ravikumar. Abstract. Scientific research has become an integral part of our academic activities. Once the research is completed, the findings should be published in an index journal so that others will get the benefit of the findings. Rejection of a manuscript is not a pleasant experience for the author. There could be several reasons for the rejection of a manuscript. Not selecting the appropriate journal, lack of novelty, improper methodology, poor writing, inadequate use of tables, graphs and figures, and incomplete referencing can all lead to rejection. If the author takes care of these issues before submitting the manuscript, chances of acceptance will be higher. In this article, we analyze some of the issues and suggested methods for avoiding rejection. Key words: test manuscript acceptance, manuscript rejection, medical education journal, plagiarism, index journal, impact factor. Assess need. Successful publication of papers in a peer-reviewed journal is very important for all academicians because it will contribute to their promotion, professional recognition, and research grants. In the current scenario, publication is important not only for career advancement but also for the economic survival of departments in the medical institution. Other outcomes of publications include credibility to the researcher, advancement of the science leading to improvement in practice, and quality of healthcare. One of the key areas for recognition and accreditation by the regulators is research productivity measured by the number of successful publications by the faculty members. In addition, other attributes of publications such as citation, H-index, and the impact factor of the journal are also important. For these reasons, it is important to write your manuscript well and publish the research article in a recognized, peer-reviewed journal. In spite of the hard work put up by the researcher, the editor and reviewer of the journal may not consider it suitable for publication. The risk of rejection can be minimized if one takes appropriate steps before and after submission. Brief. Common reasons for rejection of a manuscript. Strategies for preparing a good manuscript. Manuscript submission. Understanding review process. Tips for resubmission. Contextualize. Let us look at the case of Dr. X. Dr. X is a hard-working and sincere faculty member admired by his students. As per the requirement of medical counsel, he conducted a research study on improving formative assessment in undergraduate medical education. He conducted a qualitative study involving huge collection of data through in-depth interviews. In his enthusiasm to give exhaustive data, he included every bit of data and submitted the manuscript to a well-recognized journal with high impact factor. Unfortunately, the manuscript was returned with the following comments. You have not mentioned about ethical aspect of conducting interview. Your analysis is too short. The language of the paper is also poor and not up to the mark for our international journal. We regret to inform you that your paper is rejected. Dr. X was not only upset but almost went into depression. After 6 months, he was casually talking to his friend Dr. Y with many publications about the incident. Dr. Y told him that this type of occurrence is quite common in the initial part of our publication process. He guided Dr. X to address each of the issues pointed out by the earlier journal editor. As guided by his friend, Dr. X revised the manuscript by addressing the issues raised by the reviewers and submitted it to another journal. Modified manuscripts submitted by Dr. X got accepted after minor corrections. This incident boosted the morale of Dr. X, who went on publishing several papers after this incident. Describe. Reflecting on the episode, you will appreciate that successful submission of manuscript requires thorough understanding of the factors which lead to selection or rejection of a paper in medical education. Common reasons for rejection. Choosing the overstudied topic or subjects not appropriate for the journal will not attract its readership. In several journals, retrospective studies, case reports, and studies involving small sample size, etc., will not be accepted. Use of invalid statistics analysis and absence of control group could be other reasons. If the data presented in the manuscript is not new or the data is not supporting the conclusion, manuscript will not be considered for publication. If the discussion section is written poorly in terms of grammar, language, and content, the article is likely to be rejected. All the cited references in the manuscript should be relevant and relatively recent. They should be listed as per the journal style. If an article is rejected by a particular journal, you cannot infer that the manuscript is poor or ineffective. It only means that your article is not matching with the requirements of the journal. Rejection happens for various reasons. We have listed some of the most common causes of rejection, along with some tips for overcoming these shortcomings in Table 1. Table 1 Tips to overcome the manuscript rejection. Serial number 1 Reason for rejection of manuscript. Manuscript is not appropriate or relevant subject area for the journal, their readership. How do you overcome? Several journal finder tools are available to select an appropriate journal for subject matter of the manuscript. Sure, author has not followed research and publication ethics. Authors should follow research ethics as well as publication ethics. All authors have to ensure that they approve their contribution for the final version of the manuscript. 3. Study design and methodology are not appropriate. Small sample size with invalid statistical analysis. Author as need to explain the methodology in detail in the manuscript can also check the statistical validity and methodology while initiating the study. 4. Conclusion is vague and not supported by the data. Data presentation should be represented in appropriate tables and or figures. Conclusion should be written with supporting information or conclusion should be based on the results of the study. 5. Manuscript is poorly drafted with many language errors. One should take utmost care in editing the language or take the help of English language editor. 6. Author has not followed the instruction to authors in the journal website. Author has to avoid desk rejection by following the journal instructions strictly. Selecting right journal holds the key. After completing your research work, you need to select an appropriate journal for submission of your manuscript. A separate discussion on the list of journals which are devoted to MEUINDIA and abroad can be found elsewhere in this book. Higher the impact factor, higher the rejection rates. Rejection may lead to frustration for the authors. You need to strike a balance between the impact factor of the journal and the quality of your manuscript. By doing so, the chances of acceptance of manuscript will increase. After choosing an appropriate journal for the manuscript, you should carefully follow the instructions to authors in the journal for preparing the manuscript in terms of word limit, number of tables and figures, and style of presentation. Manuscripts are of various types like original research papers, review articles, case reports, systematic reviews, meta-analysis, editorials, letters to editors, etc. Some journals may be interested in publishing more of particular type of articles. It may be a good idea to start with submission of manuscript for a short communication or letter to the editor where the chances of rejection are less. Once you develop some confidence, you may go for original articles and then aim for review papers including systematic review and meta-analysis, which is difficult in a new field of work. If you go through the contents of journal's earlier issues, you will come to know the type of articles published in that journal. You should try to match your article with the scope of the journal. Most of the journals will allow supplementary materials to be included and it should be submitted as part of your manuscript. Editor and reviewers will look for some originality and new issue in the submitted manuscript. Journal editors will always try to improve their impact factor and citation. Unless the study involves some new issue, it is less likely to be read and cited by others. Lack of originality could be one of the reasons for non-acceptance. Strategy for preparing a manuscript. Many suggestions have been proposed for writing scientific manuscript. You can choose any one of the suitable strategies in preparing your manuscript, but you need to follow the format prescribed by the journal. Most of the well-recognized journals follow the IMRAD format. Table 2, Checklist for enhancing the manuscript quality. Serial number 1. Section of the manuscript. Title, Checklist. Is the title informative and attractive, like including study design? 2. Abstract. Whether the abstract includes the background information, methods, results, and conclusion of the study. Have you added 3 minus 5 keywords? 3. Introduction. Does the introduction provide adequate background information? Is the lacuna explained properly? Did you clearly state the study objective? 4. Methods. Whether the methods are explained in detail. Is the ethical clearance provided? Did you provide the details of equipment used? Is the procedure adequately described and validated? Did you use standard methods to calculate sample size? Have you described the statistical tests used for analysis? 5. Results. Whether the results are valid, credible, and described in detail. Did you present the data clearly using tables and figures? Whether the obtained results are well supported by statistical analysis. 6. Discussion. Are the results justified and compared with earlier studies? Did the discussion include the limitations of the study? Does conclusion match with objective of the study? 7. Tables and figures. Whether table and figures used appropriately. Are the titles and legends are numbered and described properly? 8. References. Did you include only relevant references? Did you cite all the references in the text? Whether the references are cited and listed as per journal style. Please note the journals vary in their criteria for acceptance. You should be guided by the instructions to the authors. Most popularly, Vancouver referencing style is used. 1. Title should be informative, precise, and indicate the study design. It must capture the interest of the audience. Avoid abbreviations in the title of the article. One should try to indicate the objective, outcome, and type of the study in the title. Example, avoid the effect of parental smoking on the development of lung disease in children, study of a multicenter mixed group. Better association of parental smoking and the development of childhood lung disease in Indian population, an observational study. 2. Abstract, it should be brief but informative. It should give a brief summary of the study. Most of the journals expect a structured abstract. It should contain background information, objectives, methods, results, and conclusion. Abstract should be followed by 3 minus 5 keywords which will be used for indexing. Generally, an abstract may contain about 250 minus 300 words. 3. Introduction section is considered to be important in raising the quality of the article to next higher level. Include few paragraphs about the background information summarizing existing knowledge, evidence, and lacunae. It is then followed by the purpose of study hypothesis, the scope of the study, and the research questions. The introduction should be concise and convince the readers regarding the significance and importance of the study. It should create interest among the readers to read the full article. 4. Methods. Methods section deals with a comprehensive description of the whole process, beginning with the ethical clearance, information about the study site, and the time period during which it was conducted. All relevant methodology, including data collection and analysis should be clearly described. If an established method is used for investigation, suitable reference to be given. This section will also indicate the sample size calculation, ethics committee clearance, and clinical trial registration details as applicable. All research studies should be approved by the respective ethics committees. In a manuscript, methods section should be written in past tense. Addition of a study flow chart will be ideal. In a randomized controlled trial, consort flow chart should be given. Flow chart will give a clear picture of the study to the reader. 5. Results section. It should contain observation and outcome of analysis of data using suitable statistical methods. Appropriate tables and figures can be used without repeating the same information in the text. Titles of tables should be on the top and that of figures below them. They should be suitably numbered with appropriate legends. Authors should not only list the observations, but also describe the objective interpretation of the results obtained. 6. Discussion. You should initially highlight the significance and originality of the findings. Secondly, this section should contain important findings of the study and their interpretation in comparison to the findings reported by other studies along with their references cited. Next, you need to emphasize and discuss the strengths and limitations of your study, which will open up new avenues for research question of future studies. Finally, briefly summarize the conclusion. You should carefully avoid exaggerating and claiming unsubstantiated study results. The last section should be devoted to offer some recommendations for future studies. 7. This should follow declarations like acknowledgement, conflict of interest, financial support received, etc. 8. Reference listing. All important references should be cited and listed as per journal style. It is advisable to use citation software such as Zotero. And note, reference managers, etc. references cited to be as recent as possible. Guide, language editing and plagiarism checking. One should check for grammatical and spelling mistakes. It is better to take the help of a language editor if required. Plagiarism checking is important before submitting the manuscript, since similarity to published material creates poor impression about the author. All information in a manuscript should be drafted in author's own words. Even putting sentences from one's own earlier publication will also amount to plagiarism. 1. Manuscript submission. After you have chosen the appropriate journal, final version of the manuscript should be checked again before submission. The current trend is increasing number of e-journals and e-submission process, which you should get familiar with. Prepare a concise cover letter including the summary highlighting the important findings in 2 or 3 sentences justifying publication of the article. This will provide the important information to the editor regarding the manuscript. This cover letter has to be prepared and signed by the corresponding author of the article. All authors of the article need to sign the copyright form and also disclose the author's conflicts of interest in the manuscript, who are all eligible to claim authorship and who should be acknowledged for their support is another important issue. The sequence of authors listing and the corresponding author need to be decided quite early in order to avoid any misunderstanding later. 2. Understanding the review process. Once the manuscript is received by the journal editor, usually there will be 2 levels of review of manuscript. Initially, it will be internal peer review by the editorial team to decide whether the manuscript is the type of article that they really want to publish in their journal, and if so, whether it meets the standard for sending to external reviewers. Sometimes the editors may reject after initial screening, and this is known as desk rejection. Each journal has its rejection rate, which will be approximately 30-70% of the manuscripts received by the editorial office. Now, after completing the internal reviews, the editorial office will send the manuscript to external reviewers for assessing the quality of the article to decide publication, modification, or rejection. Figure 1, a flowchart showing peer review process from submission to publication. The reviewer will comment on the manuscript with regard to the following issues: the scientific content of the manuscript, adequacy of data for answering the research question, whether the result obtained is original and the method used is scientifically sound, completeness of the literature review and discussion, whether the article will be of interest to the general readership. As author, we need to be careful to address these issues before submitting the article to the journal editorial office. 3. Manuscript resubmission. Once the manuscript is sent for review, reviewer will suggest either rejection or modification of the manuscript based on his observations. These comments should be carefully addressed before resubmission. In case the manuscript is not recommended for resubmission, the comments will help the author to modify the manuscript and submit it to another journal. When the reviewer and editor suggest resubmission with modification, author should carry out suggested changes and send a covering letter giving details of changes done pointwise. Unless there is adequate evidence for not making the changes, it is better to carry out the suggested changes. If author disagrees with reviewer, it should be clarified with suitable data and references. 4. Enhance the readability through effective use of visual media. Besides scientific content, the layout, design, and effective use of tables, boxes, charts, diagrams, graphs, figures, flow charts, and illustrations help in increasing readability of the paper. Prepare manuscript which looks good, informative, and also fulfills all the general requirements. Visually attractive article is more tempting to the readers as well as reviewers. A well-organized manuscript helps to sustain readers' interest. Figure 2, illustration showing methods to enhance the readability through effective use of visual media. Summarize. We have discussed some important issues related to publication of original articles in reputed journals. Choosing an appropriate journal, drafting the manuscript as per the journal style will increase the chances of acceptance of the manuscript. A well-researched topic, an appropriately drafted manuscript taking care of the suggestions discussed will reduce the risk of rejection. In addition, reasonable and respectful responses to reviewers will also enhance the acceptance of the article. Therefore, scientific quality is the most important in consideration. Manuscripts should be clear and concise so that chances of rejection will be reduced. Evaluate. If you are a junior faculty member without any experience of research project, which type of article you would like to start? Dr. B, who studied in Hindi medium, does high-quality research on effectiveness of online instruction. He sends his paper to Lancet and gets regret letter within a week. Guess 2 probable reasons cited by the editor.